I would rather pursue the dreams that play in sleepless conversations. Lie down on the green pastures where it is said to be forbidden. Skip in between the rules laid out neatly for us to obey. Spill my ink outside of the lines and not call it a mistake. Smile brightly in response to disapproving gazes. For if I notice that my audacity to be causes uneasiness, I will pray freedom through the bars of your mental cages. Because I'll be one of many to admit it. It is not easy to vindicate yourself from the verdicts that were handed to you. You ought to be brave to derail from the script that was forced onto you, to escape the uniform of an inflexible society, risking your reputation by leaving when you feel unwelcome here, when they have made it clear that you cannot be yourself in their company. I would rather form a tribe of my own or belong to none at all than respond to callings that don't know all of my names, or follow paths that can't carry all of my weight. I have ancestral militaries that stand with me as I shed the cloaks of insecurity and I strip off the dogmas and boundaries, for they are not in coordination with the design of my genes. I have a faith that rolls in the face of the vague oppression of fear, and my guardians defeat anything that aims to interfere. So I am never brought down to my knees to surrender my ingenuity and find that there is no joy in being celebrated if it comes at such a fee. I would rather walk with those who are wise and are still seeking than to rot in the hot soup of my ignorance, patting myself on the back for vain complacence, remaining rigid in the dazed state of oblivion, arrogant with my foolishness. Let me not into the marriage of gratified minds with those who have lost their sense of wonder, too jaded to marvel at their souls' exhibitions, unaware of the novelty in each day's exposition, whose lives have become a tasteless pattern while they grow impatient with their own persistence. You can see it when you look into their eyes. You can tell that they have abandoned their innocence. They perished long before they were due, and no mortal miracle can resuscitate them. For they are no longer enchanted by the mystery in tomorrow's promises. So they spend the rest of their existence sleepwalking. I would rather be awake to every minute of my incarnation, witness the adventure of being and becoming, place my bets until there are no favors left at my service, send myself back to my maker well spent and expended, having carried my recusancy to the depth of my grave, still asking my trivial questions and remaining immune to shame, with no distress in claiming my losses when I have miscalculated, or clapping for myself when I triumph in the absence of spectators. And when I finally walk into that light, I will follow it gladly, repent from my life, deeply pleased to have lived, with my feet worn out and my love reservoirs depleted. And when my body retires from burying me, I hope my self-dominion serves as a souvenir, reminding my descendants that liberty was an inheritance that was passed down to us in the predicate of the Genesis, when we were created in the likeness of the sovereign. Thus should there be an alien reverend who dares preach a sermon that denies this. They should be charged for their crimes and vanquished, for they are our nemesis. Thank you. So, huh? Nah, if you want to remove it, don't remove it. I have my papers on it. Okay. All right. Are we doing the Q&A?
Yeah, Q&A discussion.
Discussion. Okay, let's do the discussion. Let's do the discussion. Does anybody have a question? First, questions first, ne? Questions first. Yeah, let's see.
Yo, can I ask, what was the theme of the poem?
The theme of the poem is freedom.
Freedom.
Yes. It was inspired by being aware of the fact that we are limited by so much, and we don't have to be. I know that we have little control in the world at large, but the things that matter in our day-to-day basis should not limit us so much. The people who we choose to be, we should not feel the need to conform to a certain standard, especially if it does not align with who we truly want to be. So, yeah, it's about freedom, being free to be yourself. Paul?
I'm an asshole, so I'm just gonna ask.
You're an asshole.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I guess I'm gonna ask a question that's not cool. So like,
are you gonna offend me?
No, I'm not gonna offend you. No, have I ever offended you?
Be careful. No, you've never. Let's go. Ask the question.
So my question is, if my freedom is deeper than your freedom, does it make it? If I don't conform to your, okay, let's just say, for argument's sake.
Okay.
I feel like running around here naked. And everyone here will be offended by that. But it's my freedom. So how deep does freedom go until there's conformity?
Well, as I feel like with freedom, you have to consider the influence your freedom is going to have. And in the case of choosing to run around naked, saying that is the example, that would that would conflict other people's freedom because you make us feel uncomfortable. So freedom is something that you can actually carry with you as long as you do not bring harm to anybody, whether mental, spiritual, or physical. If you do not bring harm to anybody, nobody is even going to try to get in your way of being free. So
that's why there is. It's not really freedom.
Yeah, I'm not saying guys don't set fire to some tires on the streets. I'm just saying
you can't be that free. That's
because there are certain controls in the world.
Exactly.
I led with that there's certain things limit us.
So now, even in your poll,
okay,
maybe there's some things that you would do that would go against negatively or positively. What?
Oh, this is why I said bring out your poems, guys. This is why I said you should have a part that says maybe this is where I might offend somebody, but in the entire poem itself.
Not in the poem. In you finding yourself, because I can see that I can hear that the poem is about us.
Okay.
You.
There's a line that says, smile brightly in response to disapproving gazes.
There we go. So I'm naked and the disapproving gazes are here.
But so then you're bringing harm to somebody else's mind.
I can. But Loena, that smiling brightly could be a metaphor for something else. I get.
Okay.
Like do it boldly. If I may. No? Yes?
Okay. But so, you know why you feel like that would happen? Because this is a revolution, a personal revolution. I get. Sure, but there are certain things that when you do them, like just being yourself, only comfortable in your own skin without bringing anybody harm, that brings people discomfort in a way, depending on how far deeply they've met themselves and accepted themselves.
Stop being comfortable.
You're not bringing harm like that. That is not purposeful. This is just offense because you are being alive and you love yourself. People who love themselves.
So you agree with me? There is a boundary to freedom.
Let's go a little bit snacks like in my clothing.
I know.
Y'all know I am here with good intentions.
There's a boundary to freedom.
Where now your mind is it's curious. Judge this man, judge him.
Yeah, I told you I'm an asshole.
Okay, next question. What is?
I'm sorry, something.
Alright, do we have another question? We can go as deep as we want. We're ready for these questions. Even if it's a comment that might raise a question, let's do it. Gentleman over there, I don't know your name. Please do introduce yourself so that, yeah.
Hi, how are you?
I'm well, how are you?
I'm good. My name is Tipiso.
Tipiso.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, this journey of self-discovery, right? Now, like, we talk about freedom, we talk about the controls or the powers that be, right? Yeah, now, what I'm asking is, like, the journey of self-discovery, where do you start, where do you begin? Because there's so much fog in terms of where we are, like, just in this plane of existence, you know what I mean? We are told so much that we forget to listen to our own inner beings. So, where does it begin? Do we look outward or internally? And if internally, how do you discern, like the influences that have affected inside and are now simmering, trying to make you kind of like have a specific kind of identity that you think is you. So how do you like have a starting point?
All right. I can personally say that there's no blueprint to self-discovery, but where you begin with the journey of discovering yourself, you begin with being conscious of yourself and being aware of the things that you do and why you do them, and perhaps where they stem from. Because as we grow, we are given suggestions of what we should be, and there are certain things that we incorporate and make part of ourselves. And you could find that you disagree with certain values. You're not the person you were when you accepted them. So when you're conscious of the things that you do and why you do them, you're able to question it, and if you want to, you can change it. But I don't think self-discovery is a path that has one way only, because there are branches of yourself. You're an entire universe. You cannot say you've reached the end of yourself. Each day you learn yourself, but there are patterns that are created in being, only just being. There are certain things that you find that you create habits with. There are certain values that you stand up for. And you should know as a person why you follow these particular things. Not to be critical of every moment of your life, but to witness the person you become. And that's where you discover yourself, by seeing yourself. I hope that answers your question.
I get you, yeah. Because I was trying to get to that point of an unbiased approach to self. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Not filtering that approach.
And I would like to say that I am not a licensed therapist, and the things that I'm saying here are based on personal experience and self-education. They might not apply to you, and that's all right. Just wanted to put that out there. Is there another question?
I have a comment.
Okay.
With self-discovery, you speak of being conscious of oneself and being aware, you know, of your habits, your patterns, and all these things. And you say that be careful not to be overly critical of oneself. But I think when one becomes conscious of themselves, you get to a point where you start to not just nitpick, but you become overly conscious of every single thing that you do. Of that's not the judge you understand? So how then do you do it in a way that's healthy enough to not, you end up driving yourself crazy because like you're picking up all these terrible things about yourself, all these negative habits of how and these negative patterns how it's like everything's just wrong, you know?
I think in that regard, you have to pay attention to your emotions, because emotions are an indication on how you're doing yourself. Okay? Emotions have a way of telling you how you're doing. If you do something bad, you're going to feel bad. If there's something that you should be taking care of, you're not taking care of it, you're going to feel bad. If you do something out of spite to somebody else, you're going to feel bad. So that's how your inner self reflects back to you how you're doing. So you don't have to be critical of everything that you do. If you feel good doing a thing, you don't have to go and analyze why you feel good about it. It's about development, and you don't necessarily have to develop the parts of you that are happy. You have to just focus more on the things that make you feel bad, so that you can find a place of balance. So that there are moments of healthy, feeling anxious because your job is stressing you out. But then there are certain points where it becomes an obsession, and then it makes you sick, because too much of anything is bad. Whether it's self-introspection, you might grow an anxiety, starting to feel like every action that you make has a meaning. But sometimes you just have to find balance within the things that you do. Consciousness, yes, but don't be critical of yourself. Be aware, don't judge. I think that's me. That's it from me. Commenty. I would you go morago. Yeah, sitting so far. And I'm not leaving to you. Why leaving more?
Thank you. Check. There we go. First time caller, long time listener. I just radio, right? Just did a radio joke.
Because of the sound.
Yeah. Okay, so I just want to understand the writer's psyche. You start your poem talking about how you'd rather be a part of your own village than
I'd rather form a tribe of my own or belong to none at all.
Yeah,
Yes.
and then later in your poem you're talking about other people, you talk about sleepwalkers.
Yes.
So you start your poem talking about an introspective perspective on wanting freedom, but then later on you're talking about the society's lack of freedom. So is the writer making a point that they want to be free, or are they saying that society isn't free? Because you start by saying I want freedom, but then later you say, but they're all asleep.
That came in because I am a product of society in some ways. So the things that society does will affect me. And if I do not resist the things that are taught to me by society, I become part of it. So I was not always at a point of view where I say, this is me, and regardless of everybody else moving a certain way, I'm going to move this way and move towards what my intuition tells me. So in cases where I'm judging the society for what they are doing, I'm putting it out there because it has influence, and that's where I come from society. Before I become free, I'm part of a collective, and how we move can be affected by our family members, our friends, the people we keep around. They are part of society. And if they are not free themselves and you are trying to get free, it's going to hinder your process. So it has influence on you. I cannot ignore it, regardless of whether I'm focused on me being free as a self. Yeah.
Thanks.
All right, do you have a question?
Great.
You didn't introduce yourself. Please introduce yourself. We are becoming a community.
Sister, okay?
Corona guy.
Friends about Louis.
Friends, eh?
Yeah,
Right.
I wanted to ask something regarding trailblazing, that consciousness and awareness. So, like, how do you differentiate awareness from consciousness? And if anything, is there a difference between the two?
Awareness and consciousness are pretty much the same thing. Awareness is being a witness to what you're doing. Consciousness is being aware of what you're doing. So it's pretty much the same thing. I could say our consciousness is the result of awareness. If you're aware, you're conscious.
Yeah, but you mentioned something like we mustn't be too
Critical.
Yeah.
Critical is judgment. You could be conscious of what you're doing, but you're judging every move, which makes it difficult for you to function, because you're gonna wash the dishes and analyze how you wash the dishes. Now you're stressing over washing the dishes. That's being too critical. It's going to get into the way of living. So being too critical is not healthy. You can understand that this is who you are, this is what you do and why you do it, but you don't have to analyze it at every moment that you live your life, because now it's gonna stress you out, and you don't need that. So you can be aware. Awareness is not a difficult thing. It's not a job that you have to think about and say, I have to be aware. It's just a state of being. So you don't have to actually do something. But being critical is an action. So that's the difference. So I had to decide what it is that I wanted to keep in my life and who it is that I want around, all those stuff. So in that time, you have to actually make decisions, and informed ones, in order for you to move on the right path. So that's how the journey began. And it was, guys, knowing yourself, okay, meeting yourself is not cute, because you see yourself everywhere, okay? And you have to be honest with yourself that, sometimes, because we have this victim mentality where we feel like the world is doing stuff to us, and the moment you actually realize that sometimes it's self-sabotage, sometimes your fears get the best of you, it's a difficult thing to realize. So it was not cute, but the result of actually doing the work and changing the things that I don't like is fucking awesome. Excuse my language. But yeah, the result of it, seeing the change and you becoming better, there's nothing that compares to it. You can't buy it at a shop. So I would encourage you to do it, but at the same time, I'm telling you that it's not cute. It's not cute. Those who have done it always say that you have to actually change. It's like watching an old self die and then a new self be born. Death is not a cute thing. So yeah, that's how my self-discovery has been. And it has its ups and downs. Now I'm happy. I'm at peace. I have problems, but I'm very happy. Question?
You know what? Just speak.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Both.
yeah, sure. So, in this journey of self-discovery, you know, as you encounter your darker sides and your lesser selves, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, because you have to embrace all of you.
All of you, yes.
So, like, getting through that, going through the darkness and finding that light, how has that been? That part of it, like, examining yourself and just being honest about
Do y'all
who
want
you
me
are.
to air out my dirty laundry?
Yes.
Because I'm not going to do that. In the process of changing, you're in unfamiliar territory, guys. It's not comfortable. It's not comfortable. Half of the time, you don't even know what you're doing. You don't even know whether you're moving forward or backwards. You're just doing. So, in the process of self-discovery, you become a stranger. There are some parts of you that develop that you're familiar with, and some parts of you that die away. And confronting yourself and actually calling yourself out, excuse my French again, calling yourself out on your bullshit is not comfortable, because you have to be that, you have to face yourself as a subjective matter. And unlike being biased and feeling like certain things should be served to you, and whether you heal or not, certain people should just gravitate towards you. You deal with certain rejections that you never dealt with, past traumas. You deal with parts of you that you've kept going longer than you intended to. You deal with a lot of things. It's not nice. It's not comfortable. It's not comfortable. You're in unfamiliar territory. And the thing that makes it difficult is that you cannot ask anybody else and say, Joe, I am at this point of my life and I need to make such a decision or make such a change. Can you please help me? They won't know what to do. What they can do is tell you how they did it on their parts. But it won't be the exact same thing. So it's uncomfortable, but it's worth it. It's really worth it.
I have a question. Is it over?
You can ask.
Is it over?
Ask.
No. No. I mean, like.
Is it over?
Yeah,
The journey?
Yes.
Oh, well, it'll be over when I die.
Oh, it's still big.
No, you are a continuous thing. You're always going to be meeting yourself over and over again. You might create a person that you like now, and then later on realize, this person doesn't work anymore. I need to change. So it's a continuous thing. You're going to develop and develop until you die.
So
That's the thing about life. And that's the thing that keeps life interesting, you know. We have this thing, okay, let me not say we, including y'all. I've seen people and myself become very depressed with the state of their lives that they don't even look forward to the next day. That means that they're not interested in what's next in their life. And that is a sad way to live. So instead of stressing about what's going to happen, be excited that anything is possible. Yes, it's good and bad that is possible, but anything is possible. Tomorrow could have a plot twist. So that's something worth being excited about. As much as life gives us our jabs and our difficulties, there are things at the end of those things. Like there are rewards at the end of every lesson that you're given. So look forward to the rewards if you can't stick around for the process. And then, you know, keep your head down and do the work. Yeah.
I like the fact that you mentioned meeting oneself over and over again, right? So just think about, okay, I'm responding to you, Pilato. Think about how many friends you've had just from being a kid up until where you are now. You've had all these friends, and then some of them you've left along the way. You you outgrew each other, some changed, and you thought they were being slugs, but they met themselves.
Yeah, they changed.
But you guys are no longer at that same level.
Yeah, time is a changing, like continuously. The leaves fall, and then that's the process of life. We're constantly changing. The world is constantly changing. The universe is constantly changing. So be comfortable with the change, because it's a constant thing. It doesn't stop. Whether you want it or not, it doesn't stop. And holding on to things that need to fall away causes you suffering, because now these things do not apply to who you are right now or how the world is now. And then you're still grabbing onto them. You miss out on what is next, and you develop a hurt inside of you because you are attached to something that needs to go away, and you make letting go even more difficult. So change is something that is constant, and you have to be comfortable with it. And it's not always going to agree with your plan, because that's another thing. Like, you plan your life a certain way, and then the universe decides, no, this is how we're going to move. You need to adapt and live your life. Find joy in it. It's very important to find joy, because if you don't, you die and you've never experienced it. And that's the only adventure in life, man. Everything else is a lie.
And change is always good.
No, no, that's not true. That's not true. Change is not always good, but we have to adapt.
Always
We don't have other questions, eh?
not true.
It's not always good.
It's always
Yeah, well,
good.
that's the biggest thing. Depending on how you survive and how long it takes you. Yeah, that's true. Do we have another question? And then if you do not, I'm gonna have a break, because damn, talking is a job, guys. I know, like, I look like I'm having a good time. I am, but yeah, no. I need to have a drink in my hand. You don't have more questions? I'm getting off the stage. I warned you, I did. Yes.
How do you protect your dirty laundry while being so vulnerable as a writer?
How do I protect my dirty laundry?
While being so vulnerable as a writer?
That's a tough one. I think I probably aired out my dirty laundry, and y'all just didn't know it. Y'all just didn't know that that's my dirty laundry. So I don't know how to answer that question. Le batla dirty laundry. Yo, is that the last question?
Do you have any final giveaways? Something you want to leave us with?
Okay. Regarding the poem that I performed, for me, the purpose it serves now is a prayer. In the case of being yourself, or actually finding out who you are, you might find that you don't even know who it is that you want to be, and that causes a challenge. So I get it, Labona, we speak about manifestations and God answering our prayers and stuff like that. It's an important thing to know what it is that you want, because even throughout the poem I tell you, I'd rather do this than do that. I'm choosing what I want to do. So everything is a choice. Even not choosing is a choice. So in the journey of you becoming yourself and changing into other people that you never thought you would be, you have to be very specific with who you want to be and what you want in your life and the things you call upon yourself, because that is how we get the things we want in our lives. We speak them forth and then they come to us. So if you're not specific and you don't know what you want, anything will come to you. Anything, even things that you don't want, because you're not specific about what you want. So for me, the poem is a prayer. I say it a lot because in there, it tells me who it is that I'm becoming, because I've specified in the poem who I want to be and the things that I want to get rid of within me. So be specific with your prayers. Be specific with the things you want. And prayers don't take a joke. You might go around saying, "Eish, even if you're joking, but the things that you speak forth have power. So be careful of what you say. Be careful of the things you call for yourself. So yeah, be specific. I am getting off the stage. Specific.